In Catherine's last sermon, she told us to tell the story. The power of the story cannot be underestimated. These stories that I have mentioned have stuck with me because I can relate to them. For instance, the story of Mary and Martha has stuck with me because I've grown up with younger siblings, and sometimes I wonder why I am working and they are messing around. But Jesus reminds us that we should take a minute and reflect on God's plan for us. The story that we are going to be focusing on is Noah's Ark. On the earth, there was evil and sinful people. God was very displeased. But he found righteousness in one man named Noah. God told Noah that he was displeased with how the people of earth were treating each other in the land that he had given them. So God told Noah, build an ark. I think that it was cool that God gave direct building instructions. It wasn't just go build an ark, it was go build an ark with purpose. And this is how it should be. From Genesis 6:14. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you should build it. The ark should be 300 cubits long, 50 cubits wide, and 30 cubits high. Make a roof for it, and leaving below the roof an opening 1 cubit high all around. Put a door in the side of the ark and make lower and middle and upper decks. Noah was given so much directional help in his life, and as a senior in high school, who is struggling to figure out what to do. Sometimes it's hard to feel God's directional pull. But it's not just when you are making big life decisions that you might not feel God's directional pull. It might be in everyday life decisions. From the outfit you choose to wear to how you choose to react to people you're not too fond of. Sometimes it's not a matter of feeling God's directional pull, but it's waiting and thinking about your decisions. Then you will find that God will pull you in the right direction. God told Noah to take a pair of each clean and unclean animal, wild and domestic, birds of air and beasts of land. A pair of each were to be aboard the ark, so once God was done cleaning the earth, they could repopulate. In the message, God once again gives Noah exact directions. Genesis 7:2-4. Take on board with you 7 pairs of clean animal, and a male and a female, 1 pair of every unclean animal, a male and female, and 7 pairs of every kind of bird, a male and a female, to ensure the survival on earth. I was reading a commentary about why they took 7 pairs of clean animals, and I found that 6 were for breeding, and the 7th pair was for sacrifices. Something that struck me while at Bible study was, did Noah and his family know what to consider clean and unclean animals? You learn later on in Leviticus 11 what was considered clean and unclean, but that was after Noah. So it's not a way of knowing how Noah knew which were clean and unclean. But obviously he was able to figure it out because God was pleased with him. While reading another commentary, I read that God compelled the animals to go to Noah in pairs. It was just like when God compelled them to go to Adam to receive their names. I thought this was interesting because you never really think about how the animals go into ark, you just know they went willingly. Genesis 7:6-10. Noah was 600 years old when the floodwaters covered the earth. Noah and his wife and his sons and their wives boarded the ship to escape the flood. Clean and unclean animals, birds, and all the crawling creatures came in pairs to Noah and to the ship, male and female, just as God had commanded to Noah. And in 7 days the floodwaters came. The number 7 is very important. While at the beginning of the sermon I couldn't have told you why, after a bit of research I found that the number 7 is considered the number of completion and perfection. There are 7 major divisions of the Bible itself, starting with the law, then the prophets, then next the Psalms, 4th being the Gospels and Acts, 5th the general letters, 6th the letters from Paul, and then finally the book of Revelation. Genesis 7:16. Then God shut the door behind them. The flood went on for 40 days. Everything was covered, and everything that lived and breathed died. The Message puts it this way: the waters kept rising, the floods deepened on the earth, the ship floated on the surface. The flood got worse until the highest mountains were covered. The high water mark reached 20 feet about the crest of the mountains. Everything died. Anything that moved, dead. Birds, farm animals, wild animals, the entire teeming exuberance of life, dead. And all the people, dead. Every living, breathing creature that lived on dry land died. He wiped out the whole works, people gone. Noah and his company on the ship lived. The flood waters took over 150 days. Through all this, God remembered Noah and all the animals. And God sent a wind, and he closed the water gates of heaven. Throughout the whole Bible, you hear about wind, although it may not always be in the form we think. At the beginning of creation, God breathed the breath of life into Adam and Eve, and now God provided a wind to blow the ark. It's like a new creation and now a new beginning. Wind or the breath of God are brought up several times in the Bible. You have the story of Ezekiel and the dry bones. Just as the wind is invisible, so is the Holy Spirit from John 3:8, and the coming of the Holy Spirit in Acts 2:2. After 40 days, Noah sent out a raven, which flew over the water until it dried up. Noah then sent out a dove, who flew over the water, but could not find anywhere to perch, so he flew back to Noah. Noah waited 7 days before he sent the dove out again. This time the dove came back with an olive leaf. This was a sign that the waters had all dried up. Once again, Noah waited 7 more days and sent the dove back out, but this time the dove never returned. By the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Genesis 8:15. Then God said to Noah, "Come out of the ark, you and your wife and your sons and their wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and all the creatures that move along the ground, so that you can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it." So Noah came out, along with his wife and his sons and their wives. The animals, they came out one after another. Noah built an altar to God, using some of the clean animals and sacrificing them as burnt offerings. When God smelled the burnt offerings, he was pleased and promised that he would never flood the earth, even though people are still sinful and evil. It's kind of like God changed in a way. Instead of judging people in a violent, flood-like way, he promised that he would never flood the earth, no matter how sinful and evil human beings can be. Genesis 8:21. "And never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will never cease." God makes a covenant with Noah, saying, "Prosper, reproduce, fill the earth, every living creature, birds, animals, fish, will fall under your spell and be afraid of you. You are responsible for them. All living creatures are yours for food. Just as I gave you greens, now I give you everything else, except for meat with its lifeblood still in it. Don't eat that. But your own lifeblood I will avenge. I will avenge it against animals and other humans. Whoever sheds human blood, by human let his blood be shed. Because God made humans in his own image, reflecting God's very nature, you're here to be fruitful and reproduce, lavish life on earth, live bountifully." Then God sent the rainbow to cover the earth as a way to sign the contract, that he will never flood the earth again. Something interesting in some of the versions of the Bible is it doesn't just say a rainbow, it says a bow. In another commentary that I read, it talks about how the bow was a symbol of God putting up a weapon, saying that never again will I flood the earth and kill everything, I'm putting up my weapon. And God never did flood the earth again. He has kept his promise to us. Just as today we are asked to keep our promises, we should do it in a way that would please God. God didn't just make a promise to break it again. I know personally that this can be hard, that there are times in my life that I have not kept a promise as I should. But the thing is, having a relationship with God is that he forgives, and he knows that we are sinful and gross, but yet he will forgive us. When I was reminded that this year I was supposed to give this sermon on Sunday, I never thought I could do it. But then someone told me that I should let the Holy Spirit lead me, and the best would come out of my sermon. And throughout the stages of writing my sermon, it was one of the first times that I truly have felt the Holy Spirit working through me.